because it's Motzei Shabbos, I had a story for tomorrow's daf which fits in a lot better. I'll tell you the story now. Why not? This is a story has to do with the granddaughter of the Ramah. It's a famous story. I'll tell it to you now. About the power of Bikur Cholim. You see that Bikur Cholim is not stam. Oh, he went to visit. Shkoyach. There was a person by the name of Reb Shol Val, and he's known as he was the king in Poland for one day. What happened? It's a long story. I'm not going to go into that part of the story, but basically, al regel achas, the king died in Poland, and before you have to have a king. You can't have Poland without a king for a moment. And they were scared. The two sides, the Democrats and the Republicans, they were fighting who's going to be the king. So they said, you know what? Let's just put a king that we could trust and we could kick out, because if one of you become the king, you'll never leave. I know this very honest Jew. His name is Reb Shol Vo, and we'll put him as a king. So he was the king for one day. They say that he went in there, he changed a few things about anti-Semitism. Okay, fine. But then the new king, he was very close to everybody there. They kicked him out. He left nicely. But one day he was visiting the king, and the king says, I see, I saw you. I met your son. He looks like a murdered guy. He's a great guy. I want to do a shidduch, your top yeshiva guy, with my goyisha daughter. I think it's a great shidduch. So he stood there. He's like in shock. He didn't know what to say. Okay. He goes home and he tells his kid, he says, listen, we have a problem. The king, how am I going to turn the king down? I can't turn him down. He says, let's do this. Let's go to the hospital. By the way, I'm talking about a hospital. We have within here, we have Dr. Halperin, one of the biggest doctors in America, from top guy in Memorial Sloan Kettering, sitting right here. It's a big chashivas. The amount of people's lives that he saved and the chesed that he does with the community is unbelievable. So it's a big source that we have him here. I'll upon him, sitting right over there, the guy in the blue sweater. So he finds out, he looks around, who's a very sick girl that's mamish on her last days. We're going to marry my son to this girl. He learned the trick already. He was a king for a day. Then get married for a day. Then I'm going to run back to the king and say, hey, my son is married. I forgot to tell you my son is married. So, but he don't want to lie. He finds out the Ramah's granddaughter. The Ramah's granddaughter is in the hospital dying. So he goes to the Ramah's granddaughter. He says, I want you to marry my son. She says, what? The top guy in Poland? Yeah. She couldn't believe it. But yeah, okay, fine. They get married. He runs back to the king. He says, I was in such shock. It's such an offer. Unbelievable. But what I failed to tell the king, your majesty, my son is already married. He's married. Oh, he's married. Okay, forget it. Fine. Everybody forgot about everything. All of a sudden, there's a knock on the door. Shalom Aleichem, the Reb Shol Vol's son opens the door. It's their most granddaughter. It's like, yeah. He says, how you doing, husband? It's like, what are you talking? What? He says, you remember you married me? Married you? I thought there's a levaya. They said it's like 2 days left. No, what happened was, you came to visit me. You said you married me. So I got a chiyus. I couldn't believe it. The top guy in Poland married me. So I jumped. It brought me back to life. And slowly, the guy, here I am. I'm alive. That was the end of the Maisa. So they asked the Ramah what to do. And Ramah said, if she could have children and they should get married and they should stay married. And they had a lot of children. They had twins first and then the Maisa Shaya. Okay. Upon him, you see the power of Bikur Cholim. You go, it's not a joke. You never know what happens. Just don't get married to the person, but whatever. You give me back. Says the Gemara,